This is Action Jack McClendon, and this is my cousin, my fourth cousin, Irish Jim Dunnigan. And he's my cousin on my McClendon side. And I've known Jim for many years, and he's a real mentor to me and a wonderful example of what it means to be a good man. And he certainly is. You're going to learn about his plane crash in World War II right off of Hawaii and how he joined the military just before December 7th, 1941, when he just turned 17 years old. So here is my cousin talking about his plane crash and survival, where he broke nearly every bone in his body.
Oh, I'll be darned. 101.
And Jim, isn't that great? We'll have him put that one on first.
Oh, first the World War II vet.
Yep.
But for today, you have to wear the other one. Is that okay?
How's that?
That's fantastic.
That's perfect.
So Jim,
You hold up the other hat next to that one. Hold that one up.
oh, there's his hat. There's his shirt that says
Yeah.
Jim Dunnigan.
Yep.
And Jim, you went into the...
April the 16th, 1941.
April
Oh,
6th.
tell us about December 7th. Where were you when that
December
happened?
the 7th, I was in Sierra Madre. That's when I met Barbara. She came up with her parents to visit my wrestler friend and his wife, the guy that I used to shag milk with. And they came in the door, and he introduced me to him, and this is Mr. and Mrs. King, Barbara King. And Barbara spoke up and says, "You have to report to your station." I said, "Yeah, Monday morning, tomorrow morning." He says, "No, it's on the radio." And then her dad says, "Yeah, turn the radio. The Japanese are bombing Pearl Harbor."
Wow, so December 7th.
Yeah, you know what?
You were shipped to Pearl Harbor.
Laid down, I ended up in a bomb sight shop, learned the Norton bomb site, the secret bomb site back in Virginia. Then I went to Hawaii. But, when I was in the hospital in Long Beach, they finally got me on crutches. And I had a cast on around my foot, leg, and waist. And I learned to drive an automobile stick shift. I could reach the hand throttle, bend over like I am now. The cast was here. I reach over, grab the hand throttle, right foot on the clutch, and then when I get to a stop sign, I kick the car out of gear. I bought a car, and on September the 2nd, what happened to be Barbara's birthday, it was also official VJ Day.
That's the day the war ended with the Japanese.
Yeah, the day that the Japanese surrendered. I took the president up to see her, and I had been engaged to her, and she broke the engagement. She thought we were too young, but then she was right. But when I did this, we both were a little older, and I saw her there in Eagle Rock, and we were sitting on the patio talking, and she said to me, "Jim, you know something?" Says, I still love you. I never stopped loving you. And she wanted to get married.
Aww.
We ended up 12 days later, we were married.
Fantastic. So it bookends are, it started on December 7th and it ended on VJ Day. What day did VJ?
1945.
And how old were you when you
20 years, 21 when we got married.
21. So how old were you when you went in?
I was just turned 17 when I went in the Navy.
So you're just 16, just turned 17. Isn't that something? So we got a whole bunch of people who are going to watch this who love you.
Oh, I love the people, yeah. I love.
You have to adjust it to your head.
So now we got the right hat size with Jim there,
Right button.
101, US
We
101.
gotta make sure everybody sees.
Yeah.
That's 100-year-old,
And now he's
and now
101.
it's 101.
Yep, there you have it. So we love Jim. He's fantastic. He broke every bone in his body. He had so many damage. He's been in pain since 1941, but he never complains. His plane crashed. and he never complains. And Jim has all his hair, too, by the way, and all of his faculties. He's sharper than anybody I know. He says he doesn't have a swelled head like mine.
I'm the old patriot of the family, right?
You are the old patriarch.
You know everything. Isn't that great?
Okay.
That was Jim's plane. He wasn't a Liberator. This is identical to the Liberator that
painted
he
it.
had
Yeah.
that crashed in the sea. And they did a documentary, Discovery Channel, I think it was, on his plane.
That's right, Discovery Channel. The new ones had the bird cage on up front, just like a window.
Right.
And then they came out with a turret.
What's a turret?
Turret.
A
Yeah.
turret.
And then they improved that and put a ball turret on it. And the ball turret was on the kind of plane I went down in. I mean, it was the model that I went down in, crashed in.
That wasn't a very good model, Jim.
And
You know, they never did find that ball turret on that plane I crashed in.
Then it's probably still in the bottom of the sea,
Well, yeah, but they found the plane all broken up.
right?
But I asked the diver, where was the ball turret? I know it was torn off. He said, we never saw it. So I think it rolled
Away.
farther ahead into the ocean floor, and they never did spot it, never did fly it.
No.
But, and speaking of that diver, I met him in Hawaii. He took me out and showed me where the wreckage was.
Wow. What year was that?
I don't know, Juan and I went over there. So it was shortly after we got married over here.
So in the 1990s, I guess.
Yeah, his name is Ed Robinson. He's on TV. And I found him by accident. I was looking on TV to see about the internet, rather, about the crash of a B-24 Liberator in June the 26th, 1944.
Right.
And here was the story on it by Ed Robinson. He was a diver. I looked it up. Well, he's the first one to find that plane, not Discovery Channel. He was the first one. And anyway, I got in touch with him when I was over to Hawaii. He took me out. Took me out where the plane went down. He had 5 or 6 people with him. One was an 18-year-old girl. They're going down almost 200 feet to where the plane was, the wreckage. And I asked the girl afterwards, I said, have you done this deep and dive before? She says, yes, but not in this kind of circumstances, and not where we have to use special oxygen at that depth. They couldn't stay down long. They had to use special oxygen.
Oh, I didn't know that.
But she says, I saw it. It was awesome, the wreckage. And I took Ed Robinson out to lunch. And then that night, Juan and I took the group of people that were on the boat to dinner.
Oh,
And-
you're so sweet.
And then I've kept in touch with Ed now and then. And I texted him this last week, and I heard back from him. He was glad to hear from me.
Oh, good.
He's amazed that I'm still around.
Yeah, well, you're 101. You're in a special club, Jim.
But that's a story in itself. In the water with the 3 officers, they were keeping me afloat by May West, trying to keep
But
me.
how did they get you out of the plane, Jim? Because
When I got out of the plane, I woke up after the crash. I didn't even know when we crashed. We hit so hard. I was told afterwards that the bomb bays broke open, and the water rushed in. Before the water rushed in, that twin 50 caliber machine deck turret broke loose and landed on top of me, and then it bounced back into the turret. And the navigator said the water covered me up. He said, I thought I was you were gone. Well, anyway, when I was awake, what was going on, my head was above the water by the co-pilot's side, and I couldn't hardly breathe. I was in horrible pain, and I happened to turn my head, and I could see the 3 officers swimming away from the plane. I yelled for help, and Lieutenant Miller, the pilot, came back. He had to dive in the water twice. First, he inflated my May West, And then he dove down and got my shoe off my foot and pulled my leg out of the wreckage. He just got me away from the plane when the plane sunk.
Wow, that was close.
And then the guys in the aft end of the plane had floated got a life raft open, and they lost the paddles when they opened it, and they were floating away from us. The swells were high, and the officers figured they could. Told me they thought it was 7 miles to land, but it was shorter than that. But they were drifting away from us, and they happened to be 6 torpedo squadron planes on a routine flight, and they saw the guys in the life raft, and they started diving over them, and then one of the planes came out on a different dive, and when he did, he came out of his dive over where top where we were. He didn't look like he was any higher from me than that ceiling there.
Wow.
And he was looking out his window, he saw us, then the planes broke up. The planes broke up. 3 planes over us and 3 planes over them. And then a converted PT boat came out to rescue us.
Wow.
I was the last one that got out of the water, and they knew I was injured bad. They got everybody out except me, and they were trying to figure out how the best way to get me up on the boat. And I remember the guy by the name of Schauger that went up to help me on a flight check. He told me, he says, "Can't you see how much pain my buddy's in?" And with this, he jumped in the water. Same time he did, these swells threw me up against the side of the boat. And they had a cargo net on the side, and I grabbed it with my left arm, and then they pulled me up with my left arm, and I heard them saying, "Don't stand me up," and that's the last I remember. They put me in a boat, and I do remember that. I was in horrible pain, with my legs the left leg all busted up, and right arm was broken, the ribs on my right side were broken, and they gave me some morphine, and that was on the boat. We got to the dock, I woke up, and I heard him talking to somebody. It was a chaplain. They asked about the injuries. They said one man had a broken arm, one had some burns, but the man in the boat, he is not going to live. You have to ride with him. And they took me out of the boat, put me in the ambulance with a chaplain. And I remember that vaguely. So I figured it's me that's dying. And I was shaking so bad from shock. They put me in the dispensary, and I remember the doctor gave me 3 of these medicine glasses full of brandy, one after another.
Wow.
He said, "The more you drink of this, the better off you're going to be." I thought they're going to get me drunk before I die. That's the last I remember until midnight.
Wow.
And then I woke up. It was the first time I felt my left foot. The pain was horrible. And I yelled for help. And here came the doctor and the corpsman. And they put a Thompson splint on me, and they pulled it too tight on my ankle. They loosened it up. And the following day, they flew us to Oahu, and to the big island up on the hill, and I mean the big hospital on the hill, Navy Hospital. And when I was in the hospital, I remember when they took me in, I had passed out from the pain. They were carrying me in a sheet, four guys in a sheet, no clothes on. And they took me to my bed where they're going to put me. That's all I remember. And according to one of the guys, they worked on me until about midnight. They said I turned purple. They put me in a quiet room to die.
Ouch.
But here I am.
You've outlived them all, Jim.
Were you scared, Jim?
Huh?
Were you scared?
Was I scared? Well, you know, I figured I was going to die because 50% of the crew of B-24 always never lived through it. Every one of us guys got out alive. I don't understand how, but I just, the thing that, like they say, things flash in your mind. Well, Barbara and I were not engaged in it. But I wrote to her. I really cared for her. But the first thing I could see was my parents and Barbara, and that was all I remember. It's me.
So you're in AOM first class.
Yeah.
in the
You know, they
Navy.
changed the rate later on to just AO1. They did that because women came in the service and you couldn't have H known as mate. They dropped the M off of it, so it's AO first class.
You were an E6, and you would have been a chief petty officer.
I would have been on E7, yeah.
But because of the crash,
Yeah,
that crashed that.
yeah.
Crashed his career in the military.
It crashed your career.
So I was a first class petty officer.
Wow, that is great. And his ribbons and all of his commendations is in the,
Right.
here too.
You can put that on.
Was the automatic pilot. I went to school at Hickam Field, which is
Right.
the Army Air Corps, for about 4 days. And they had a civilian instructor teaching us all about the automatic pilot because it was on the B-24 Liberators. We call them PB-4Ys. And I had to go up on flight checks and make sure the plane was flying coordinated so it wasn't sliding, it wasn't slipping, whatever, and it wasn't losing altitude and everything else. I'd have to make adjustments on the automatic pilot till the pilot was flying in coordinated turns and keep maintaining its altitude and flying straight and level. That way, then when the bombardier was flying it on the bomb side, everything was accurate. But if the automatic pilot was off, he couldn't be accurate. I had to flight check the plane, make any corrections on the automatic pilot, and I could do that from the cockpit. I get it all set up. It's all done. I'd tell the pilot, "Okay, I think it's okay. Check it," and he'd check. The day I crashed, I got it all set up, flying straight and level. Then the plane started to oscillate.
Uh-oh.
And I told the pilot, I says, disengage the automatic pilot and retrim your plane, and then clutch the automatic pilot back in again. He did. Then I went through the same procedure. Everything was seen to set up, and then the plane oscillated again. The third time I tried it, it was oscillating again. I said, there's something wrong. I don't know what it is. So I said, just take over manually, and I will flight ground check it when we get back on the ground. But this is not right. And I no more than said that. And the plane captain was coming up through the bomb bays, and I saw him looking at things. And then he looked at right there where you step up to the flight deck. There's 2 tubes showing how much gas you have on the port and starboard side. There was nothing on the starboard. He says, Mr. Miller, he says, Lieutenant Miller, we got one hell of a gasoline leak, and we need to make a fuel transfer. Well, they could, but it takes time. They can make fuel from the port side to the starboard side. But at the same time he said that, number 3 and 4 engine cut out on us.
Wow.
And we dropped from 1,200 feet to 800 feet. The plane was on an angle, and the co-pilot was going nuts. He's yelling, pull it up, pull it up, pull it up. And Lieutenant Miller says, I can't pull it up. I'm at stalling speed now. Help me with the aileron control. He wanted to get that leveled up. And then he said on the intercom real fast, he said, told everybody, I can't hold it, we're gonna crash, so prepare to crash. The ditch, we call it ditching. And he told her around me, he said, just sit down and brace yourself. So I sit down on a step about this high into the pilot's compartment, because the navigator was over here and the radio was over here.
Okay.
And I sit down there. I didn't know when we hit the water. Then, like I said, the navigator told me later. He said the bomb bays flew apart with the water. He said then also that turret fell down on top of you, and then bounced back in the bomb bays. And he says then the water covered you up, and I thought you were gone.
So this is Lieutenant William Miller, who became a captain, a career man in the United States Navy. And this is the person that saved my cousin's life. So Jim was trapped in the plane. It was underwater, and Lieutenant Miller went down and extricated him and took him out and saved his life. This is Captain Miller's daughter, and Briggy and I went to North Carolina to meet her, to thank her in person for what her dad did in saving my cousin's life. And he was never decorated or recognized for doing this heroic act. My cousin did everything he could to make sure that Captain Miller was recognized for saving his life, his heroic journey that he did. And here's, by the way, these pictures here, this is from the documentary that was on the Discovery Channel when they found Cousin Jim's plane. And this is the Liberator. It was experimental aircraft at the time. That's why it crashed. It's a B-24 Liberator. So if you like this video, please hit like. My cousin Jim will see the comments. Please give a comment. And if you appreciate his service and appreciate his great attitude, that he would love that, and so would I. So this is Action Jack on behalf of my lovely bride, Burgermeister, saying we'll be back. It will be soon, and that's the name of that tune.